Have you ever been so sure about something only to realize later you were completely off track? Like confidently fixing a leaky faucet, only to flood the entire bathroom? Don't worry, you're not alone. Welcome to the world of overconfidence, where we trust our instincts and knowledge way more than we should, as exposed by Daniel Kahneman in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. The illusion of understanding. Humans love making sense of things. We're natural storytellers, weaving past events into neat stories and convincing ourselves we knew it all along. This is what Daniel Kahneman calls the illusion of understanding. Imagine your favorite sports team wins the championship. Suddenly everyone's saying, of course they won. They had the best coach, top players, and perfect teamwork. But here's the thing. If they'd lost, we'd hear, their strategy was terrible, and they crumbled under pressure. Hindsight bias makes it look obvious in retrospect, but it's rarely that simple. The illusion that we understand the past fosters overconfidence in our ability to predict the future. The illusion of validity. Here's another trap. The illusion of validity. This is when we're super confident about our judgments, even if there's no good reason to be. Think of someone who's convinced they can predict stock market trends. They'll say, I just have a knack for this. But studies show their guesses are often no better than flipping a coin. It's like watching a friend who's terrible at darts say, this time I've got it. Spoiler alert, they probably don't. When intuition fails. Kahneman isn't saying intuition is always bad. If you've been doing something for years, like a chef knowing exactly when a steak is done, your gut feeling can be spot on. But intuition fails in unpredictable environments, like guessing lottery numbers or betting on horses. Intuition works when you've practiced in a consistent environment and get regular feedback. The inside view versus the outside view. Here's a choice we often face. The inside view. Focus on your unique situation. The outside view. Look at the bigger picture, using general statistics and trends. Most of us choose the inside view because it feels personal. For instance, if you're planning a home renovation, you might think, we'll finish in 2 months because we're organized. But if you ask around, the outside view, which is the reality, will tell you it usually takes twice as long and costs more than you expect. Thus, we can say that the inside view is personal, optimistic, and narrative-based, whereas the outside view is statistical, realistic, and data-driven. Optimism bias. Why we're all dreamers. Optimism bias is that sunny voice in your head saying, it'll all work out. It's why people start businesses, plan weddings, or attempt DIY projects. Optimism drives progress, but it also blinds us to risks. Picture this. Your friend decides to open a cupcake shop saying, everyone loves cupcakes. I'll be rich. They forget to consider how many other cupcake shops already exist. Optimism bias fuels their dream, but it might also lead to an empty bakery. Overconfidence is fed by the illusory certainty of hindsight. Making choices. When you're not sure. Now, let's talk about how we make decisions when the future is uncertain. 1. Prospect theory. Why losing hurts so much. Here's a truth about humans. Losing feels worse than winning feels good. This is the core of Kahneman's prospect theory. Imagine someone offers you a coin flip. If it's heads, you win $150. If it's tails, you lose $100. Most people would say no, even though the math is in their favor. Why? Because the pain of losing $100 is more intense than the joy of winning $150. 2. The endowment effect. Why we overvalue our stuff. Ever notice how we value things we own way more than things we don't? This is the endowment effect. Let's say you have an old couch you want to sell. You might think, this is worth at least $200. It's so comfy. But buyers will see it as just another old couch and offer $50. Owning something makes us emotionally attached, inflating its value in our minds. 3. The fourfold pattern of risk. Let's break it down step by step. How we deal with high probabilities. When there's a high probability of gain, we become cautious. Imagine a game where you're offered a guaranteed $90 or a 95% chance to win $100. Most of us would take the $90 because losing that tiny 5% feels riskier than gaining an extra $10. Even though the expected value is slightly higher for the risky option, our aversion to uncertainty pushes us toward the safe bet. It's like thinking, why mess with almost certain money? Now, flip the script to a high probability of loss. In this case, we're surprisingly willing to gamble. For example, let's say you owe $100, but there's a 95% chance you'll have to pay it, and a 5% chance you'll get out of it. You might think, let's roll the dice, because the small chance of escaping the loss feels like a lifeline. This is why people sometimes avoid paying fines, hoping for a miracle. What about low probabilities? When the probability of gain is low, we tend to take risks. This is why lotteries are so popular. The odds of winning are minuscule, but the dream of becoming a millionaire for just a few bucks is irresistible. The remote possibility of a huge gain tempts us to bet, even though the rational choice would be to save our money. On the flip side, when there's a low probability of loss, we become overly cautious. That's why people buy insurance for rare events, like asteroid impacts or extended warranties for electronics that rarely break. The idea of even a small chance of a disaster makes us willing to pay a premium for peace of mind. Key takeaways. High probability of gain. Play it safe. We prefer certainty over a slightly better risky option. High probability of loss. Take risks. We'd rather gamble than accept a sure loss. Low probability of gain. Take risks. The dream of a big win lures us in. Low probability of loss. Avoid risks. The fear of rare disasters drives us to play it safe. Understanding this pattern helps us see where emotions influence our decisions more than logic. By recognizing these tendencies, we can pause, think, and make smarter choices when faced with uncertainty. 4. Framing effects. The same problem, told differently. How you frame a choice changes everything. Imagine you're told, this surgery has a 90% success rate. This surgery has a 10% failure rate. Most people feel better about the first option, even though both are identical. Framing influences decisions more than we realize. 5. Mental accounting. Emotional math. We treat money differently depending on where it comes from or how we plan to use it. For example, if you win $100 from a lottery, you might splurge on a fancy dinner. But if you earn that $100 from hard work, you're more likely to save it. This emotional math often leads to irrational decisions. Relatable. Example, you get a $500 bonus and think, vacation time. But when it's part of your regular paycheck, you're more cautious about spending it. Takeaways for smarter decisions. 1. Use the outside view. Always step back. What does the data or experience of others say? If most people fail at a certain venture, don't assume you'll be the exception. A practical way to apply this is to research average outcomes and timelines before starting a new project. For example, before renovating your kitchen, find out how long it typically takes and how often costs exceed the budget. This can save you from being overly optimistic and underprepared. 2. Balance optimism with realism. Dream big, but ground your plans in reality. Optimism is great for motivation, but include a plan for the challenges. For instance, if you're launching a startup, prepare for the possibility of slow sales and unexpected expenses. By setting aside a contingency fund or brainstorming solutions in advance, you'll be better equipped to handle setbacks without losing hope. 3. Frame your problems differently. When faced with a decision, ask how it's being framed. Would you make the same choice if the phrasing changed? For example, if a salesperson says, "This insurance will protect you 100% of the time," versus, "There's a 0% chance of loss," Notice how the wording impacts your feelings about the decision. Reframing the problem in neutral terms can lead to clearer thinking. 4. Recognize loss, aversion. Know that your fear of loss might be stronger than the potential joy of gain. If the math works out in your favor, take the risk. For example, if an investment offers a higher return but involves a small chance of loss, focus on the overall benefits instead of magnifying the worst-case scenario. 5. Test your intuition. Before trusting your gut, ask, have I practiced this skill in a consistent and predictable environment? If not, double-check your instincts with logic or data. For example, a seasoned chess player might trust their intuition during a match, but guessing stock prices requires more data-driven analysis. 6. Beware of ownership bias. Just because something is yours doesn't mean it's inherently more valuable. Practice detachment when making financial decisions. For instance, when selling a car, consider how much similar vehicles are worth on the market instead of focusing on your personal attachment to it. 7. Breakdown. Mental accounts. Treat all money equally, whether it's a bonus or regular income. Make financial choices based on priorities, not emotions. For example, if you receive a tax refund, resist the urge to splurge impulsively. Instead, allocate it toward long-term goals like savings or paying off debt. 8. Challenge your confidence. When you're sure about something, ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? A little doubt can save you from big mistakes. For instance, before making a major career change, consult mentors or research potential downsides to ensure you're not overlooking critical factors. 9. Plan for uncertainty. Kahneman's lessons show that life is full of surprises. Build flexibility into your plans to account for unexpected changes. For example, if you're planning a big event, always have a backup venue or extra resources in case things don't go as planned. 10. Reflect and learn. After making a decision, look back and evaluate. Were you influenced by bias? This reflection can improve your future decision-making. For instance, if a past investment didn't work out, identify whether overconfidence or emotional attachment played a role and adjust your strategy accordingly. Kahneman's lessons teach us that our brains are full of shortcuts, but they don't always lead us to the right destination. Recognizing these biases helps us navigate decisions with more clarity and less regret. As Kahneman wisely puts it, we can be blind to the obvious, and we are also blind to our blindness. So the next time you're overconfident about your DIY skills, remember, maybe it's time to call a plumber.
We touched on a few chapters, but there's much more to know. Read the complete book to let the wisdom flow. Turn pages, chase dreams, erase every doubt. Until next time, a bookser's signing out.